Shimmer here, and today we are making a video game journal to help organize all of the creative messiness that is exploring in a video game. We're gonna go over all of these different tabs right here of my own personal video game journal, and also just go over some general advice as far as how you can make your own, whether it is digital, physical, whether you want to spend any money, no money, it's entirely up to you. If that sounds interesting, keep watching. If you're anything like me, sometimes you play a game for 10 hours or so, and then suddenly I don't have a desire to play it immediately the next day, and the next time you do play it, you don't remember anything that's happening. This is something that plagued me a lot growing up, specifically because I loved playing RPGs, role-playing games. So I grew up with my Game Boy Color. I loved opening up the world of Pokemon every day and seeing what new adventures would unfold. But it would really help if I could maybe remember what Pokemon I was looking for, or what gym I was leveling up to, or what quest I was on in a different game. So that is where video game planning, video game bullet journaling, however you want to call it, comes in. I previously did a video just very simply about how I applied this using just very simple notebooks. I use kind of a traveler's notebook insert, so a notebook of maybe 100 pages or less, and it was helpful for me whenever I was organizing my games of Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley, if you haven't played it before, has a whole lot in it for looking like such a simple game. You have to make so many decisions regarding crops, exploration, when you do things, what you want to do, who you want to talk to, and it's all very much on this timed seasonal setting where you have a limited amount of time for those options. So for me, planning was a way to make video games more enjoyable and less stressful, especially considering the types of video games I personally liked playing. So let's talk a little bit about video game journaling or video game planning. Bullet journaling, scrapbooking, commonplace books, these are all ways of collecting information you find important and that you want access to. So while bullet journaling may have been the way most people on the internet have heard of it in the 21st century, having just a notebook of some kind to put down information is just not a new thing at all. I remember being a kid in the 90s, and I know lots of kids and adults in the 80s and 70s before that would have a scrap of paper next to them, or even an entire little composition notebook or a little ledger of some kind to jot down passwords, write down things to help figure out codes in video games, or just to keep notes to keep track of things. If you've ever played a tabletop role-playing game, something like Dungeons and Dragons, especially where you create your own character, especially where you are using your imagination, you have to keep track of a lot of things, writing it down in some form or fashion just kind of makes sense. So there's several different ways to do things when it comes to organizing your thoughts for video games. You can definitely go digital ways of doing this, and I've done that for years. If you want to make spreadsheets, if you want to use OneNote, if you want to use Evernote, however long that's going to be around, if you want to use any form of digital method, that works for a whole lot of people. For me, I have found it a whole lot easier in these past recent years to take things more pen and paper, especially when I'm trying to enjoy myself. So with bullet journaling, this has gone back to RPGs in a number of different ways. For one, I talked about things like Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games, but even other RPGs I played on computers growing up in the 90s. If you were playing Heroes of Might and Magic, you needed to know how to plan your resources and what you wanted and how to send them out into battle. If you were playing Diablo, you might want to focus on which weapons you want to hold on to and which weapons you want to junk or not even bother upgrading because you know you're gonna pick up something else in 2 minutes that's even better. If you are doing quests in some game like an MMORPG, let's take Final Fantasy XIV Online or RuneScape for example, you will probably want to keep track of things so you can remember who it is you're supposed to talk to when you log in 3 days later and inevitably forget how many bags of wizard flower you're supposed to give them. So whenever you are considering all of this information, it makes sense to be able to have it in some sort of palatable, digestible format that makes it all that more enjoyable to play. So today we're going to take a look at a couple of different ways you can use bullet journals or writing in notebooks, planning, however you want to call it, to your best needs, to suit your needs in different types of games. So this is my bullet journal. I have here one I'm really happy with. I'm glad with the design I've got, just a sticker on there that says video game bullet journal. It also has these tabs that go all the way through, different colored tabs. And one thing I really like about this is it helps me segment some different things. So when we first open up, my very first tab I have is just a clear one, and I put like a little sticker on there, and it can decorate, you know, how you like. And on this first one I have my title, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and you can also decorate on the inside. It's just a regular page we have going on here. And I did already a stream in which we talked about some different ways you can use bullet journal methods with video games for Animal Crossing. And I went in and I made basically a list of my island makeover priorities. So some things I really wanted to focus on as we are going through the sort of next stage. So this is certainly one way you can use your bullet journal. You can go through and make your list of things that you want to focus on. So I decided I wanted to look at that elevation and the illusion of depth, strengthening villager grouping, fixing the main building grouping, moving crops, flowers, the orchard, adding water elements, rock organization, trees and shrubs, the illusions for docks and coastal areas and the beach. I also wanted to update just in general for the town, a new tune and a new flag, and add some patterns to the Able Sisters. I really love all the different patterns, but I've not really gotten into making my own, even though I like other types of patterns, so I really want to get into that and start uploading them. And then leveling up, I'm building kind of this gyroid cafe with my second character. So those are a couple of things I wanted to look at today for our demonstration. So here's what I already have started for our demo today. A daily check-in for both my main character and a secondary character. And this character is the one I'm using to build that gyroid cafe. So this is going to be a daily check-in, and the reason I decided to split it between these two characters is because I really have different goals going on with these two characters. So what I'm going to do is pull up actually just a daily list that you might find, and I'll put a couple of examples below of those daily tasks that you have to do in Animal Crossing. So this first character I've had for quite a while, so there are a couple things I do need to make sure I'm still doing, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to do things like add, check your mail. That's something I need to focus on for both of these characters. So let's go ahead and put that for both. For this one, I'm going to put talk to all villagers. Because she really needs it, but this person doesn't. Also, recipes. Check for any visitors. Definitely complete Nook, Miles, tasks. Hit rocks. And shake trees. Whereas this person, I really want them to focus on things like water flowers, watering crops, sell and consolidate and craft pretty much as you can every day. And we kind of have these different focuses. Next step in goals. So those are a couple of different ways you might have a daily check-in for different characters. And something else you might do is just, you know, add a little bit of a decoration here. So I think I'm gonna do, let's see, if I can find a good example. Leaf blowing here. A little bit. Another thing I might do is just to have a little delineation between the two. There we go. So that's just a quick example of a daily check-in you might have for two different characters. So here's my next section for Just Dance, and I don't really have a whole lot in it yet. So the only thing I have so far are the things that I've danced, and I'm just kind of crossing those out as I go through them. So this is just one way that you can use, again, a bullet journal for video game purposes. This is more of a collection in which I'm going through and focusing on the different ones. So now let's take a look at Final Fantasy Online. So these are some examples of ones I've done for goals. Right now I have a character that has gone through pretty much the entire game. I've gone through the main storyline of the first part of the games. So really it was just sort of finishing up a few things. So I have things like Alchemist to level 50, Culinarian, Armorer, Fisher, just trying to get up to those level 50 parts, still trying to save money for a house, trying to save seals for a promotion. So this is nice when you have a game like Final Fantasy XIV Online that has all of those different sorts of goals where you can get them all collected here. So something I'm thinking about though is I really want to start a new character that is just on PC because I've been playing on PlayStation 5. What I'd like to do is go back to where I started with before. These are all different sort of pages that I had used for planning different video games, and now I'm going to try to consolidate them all throughout here. So let's take a look back at when I first started using this as sort of that video game bullet journal. So this is what I originally started with. It's kind of all over the place. I'm gonna back up just a little bit here. But I have a couple of things that I wanted to use. So for my character info, I had kind of who I wanted to be, a name. I wanted to be a conjurer. I originally started with aura, and then I moved to something else later, a couple things later, but you know. And then all those decisions that you make kind of at the beginning. And then I put over here the main conjurer quests, and later I ended up finishing all of the white mage quests. I also chose which disciples of the land and hand that I really wanted to start with. This was before I really knew that you kind of needed to embrace all of them. Let's take a look at some more choices that we had. So conjure actions, I did the same thing. I just kind of listed them out. My role actions and those traits, all of those things that you need to know about your character when you're building them, and it gives you something to look forward to as you are progressing along. Then I really was interested in botany, so that was the first discipline of the land that I went into, and also carpentry was one of the first disciplines of the hand that I went into. Specifically because I noted that canes and shields were really good for conjuring, so that's where I went to first. Here are a few other examples of things that I wrote down. So guilds and guild masters, just where they're located, and I started checking them off as I joined them. And then again, all of the different quests to get through, just it was nice to put them down. And I added stars next to ones that I really wanted to make sure I was starting for the guilds. So after the guilds and guild masters, also I made myself a little wish list of mounts and minions that I wanted to get and checked them off when I went through. So that was just something else to keep yourself motivated as you're going along. So with our new character, let's go ahead and start with a name, which I'm honestly going to have to think on for a while, so I'm gonna leave that blank for right now. We're gonna have race, which I'm also gonna think on for a little bit. And I think I do want to start as I did before as a conjurer, just because I love playing conjurers and I think it's really fun. So I am going to start there for all of those. I am going to do again Gridania as my city-state, and I think I'm going to do again Nymea the spinner. So a couple things just to decide off the bat. And I can go ahead and make myself a little quest line right underneath. So we'll do some conjure. Quests. found using a journal to be really helpful when it came to Final Fantasy because of all of the real-time dynamics that it has. There are specific things you have to check at specific times. Time zones matter, how long you're waiting for things really matters, and having a dedicated area to write things down and figure things out is really helpful. So far for my collection spread, I don't have too many things, just my overall Steam Play Later list and what I'm taking a look at. There's so many different things you can put in a collection spread. For example, if I didn't have a Pokemon section, this could just be where you've collected all of different Pokemon, whether that be in Pokemon Go or Sword and Shield or Violet or any of the other games that you may have played. Some other trackers you could have, you could keep track of your playtime, so that is something a lot of people do. I found several examples online of people tracking playtime on their Switch, on Steam, with different games. Also seasonal tracking, so if you are doing games that have very seasonal rounds, Animal Crossing certainly has its seasonal varieties, and you could time travel potentially to change those seasonal options as well. So this would be a great place to keep track of those items. As far as accessories and options, so I do have this kind of notebook holder. It zips up. You can put a couple of different small notebooks in it, certainly any sort of accessories, pens and pencil holders. They'll slide right in. Any stickers, rulers, anything you want to decorate your notebook with, and you can honestly just stick an entire Nintendo Switch in there or an entire 3DS in there as well. And you don't have to use a spiral notebook, you don't have to use a composition notebook, you don't have to use a notebook at all. You can make this on index cards, you can make it on a PowerPoint slides, you can make it in Google Sheets if you want to. Just think about all the different ways that information is appealing to you. What are you most likely to check, use, edit? What speaks to you as a gamer and to your habits? So overall, I'm hoping to use my video game journal as a way to keep me checking in on the games that I love and reminding myself why I love playing them in the first place. Sometimes, especially with denser games or games with a whole lot of systems going on, it can be overwhelming, or you can even forget about games that you wanted to play because they've been sitting in your Steam library picking up cobwebs since the last summer sale you actually participated in. So by having some way of marking things down, being able to flip through it, having tabs and sticky notes and stickers, just ways to leave your mark. I don't know about anyone else, but it just helps me enjoy gaming a whole lot more. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you next time. Also, you may have noticed a bonus book. If you don't like any form of notebooks that already exist, you could always make your own, but you'll have to see that in another video. Until then.